I think some of those early signs will be things like leaning on caffeine a little bit more than you used to. I'll just have that second cup. I'll just have that third cup. I know that for a fact because that's exactly part of the problem that I had was caffeine became the crutch. It was that boost of energy that you got, but you're borrowing energy from later in the day. And you'll probably have a crash where you feel like a nap.
You have nothing left.
No, that's right. So it's a nice bookend to the day. And that's a really good way of boosting your energy in the morning. And natural light, it doesn't have to be sunny, but you need to be outside. You can't do it through glass windows, can't be in a building or in a car, got to be in person outside because the lux is so much higher and the blue light that is being received by your brain is so much higher. And so that's a really important one. So it helps boost your energy, but it also helps you set up for a better night's sleep that night.
Yeah.
So that's a critical one because then when the motivation slips, the extrinsic motivation comes and goes, it's intrinsic motivation that's there always. Tap into it when you need it.
That's good stuff. I mean, it's good food for thought.
Because what I want people to do is be able to walk through a supermarket, fill a trolley, go home, cook for a week, and everything's how it should be. And that's the learning process, as opposed to, here's the food you should eat. What have I learned? Well, I'm following instructions.
Then you're just giving a prescription, right?
Exactly. And I don't, that's not my method of operating. I find that you're already doing that we can change, so it doesn't take any more time. All you're doing is changing the way you do it. And that's the low-hanging fruit that I look for first.
Have you ever felt like you're running on empty, both physically and mentally? What if the secret to performing at your best isn't about doing more, but having more energy to do what matters? Today's guest is Rich Ellis. He shares how to recharge your life, your leadership, and your business without burning out. Welcome back to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Dyer. I'm so grateful that you're here listening or watching this episode. Would love for you to share this episode with your friends, your family, or your workmates. And please subscribe if you haven't already done so we can get this out to the wider world. This episode is sponsored by The Crate and AI Workflows Agency. The AI Workflows Agency is all about helping business owners who are working in their business to really get out of their business and work on their business, work smarter and not harder. So if you're interested in understanding how you can streamline your operations and grow faster, then get in touch. There'll be a link in the show notes. So joining me today, Rich Ellis, welcome. You're better known as the Energy Coach, and you've spent almost 12 years helping business owners, leaders, and teams find more energy and focus by making small, consistent changes in their daily routines. And you're also a winner of the PT of the Year at the NZ Exercise Industry Awards. Wow. A regular speaker at major corporate events like Harcourts and Asana.
Yeah, some time ago, yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
And a registered health coach. And your mission is simple. It's to help people perform at their best by managing their most valuable asset, which is their energy.
Absolutely.
Well, welcome to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on. It's great to do a live in-person version. I've done a number online, and it doesn't compare.
No,
this is the real deal.
This is awesome. Yeah, it's like being in a room with someone and actually having a conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, just being able to see the whites of your eyes and not through a screen, right? You can read body language more easily. You can see what is going on. It just makes for a better experience, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just finished a podcast before this.
Yep.
With a gentleman in India. And we both had the energy, which is great.
Yep.
Right? But it wasn't the same. It would have been awesome to have him in the room as well.
I bet.
Cool. So, Rich, tell us a little bit about your journey in life.
Sure.
From childhood. What are some of the highlights, some of the challenges that you've faced as a you're from the UK originally, right?
I am from the UK about 27 years ago now. So I've actually lived in New Zealand longer than I lived in the UK. So I consider myself a proper Kiwi, even though I probably still don't sound like one.
Well, tell us more about your journey.
Yeah, I think I had a fairly, privileged upbringing. I didn't really have too much challenge or adversity in my life. I I have a younger brother, so two of us growing up in the same household, and my father owned a business and was very busy running and owning and running that business. So we didn't see as much of him as probably we would have liked, but at the same time, he made it his mission to get in the car and try and make it home most nights if he was travelling, as opposed to staying over in a hotel or whatever it was. So, that was he worked hard on that as well, grew up in the UK, studied in the UK. Actually spent a year in New Zealand before university.
Okay.
So I did the classic gap year thing, which is the OE, for Kiwis going the other way, and worked in Christchurch in a prep school and was a tutor. So the tutor's job was basically all the jobs no one else wanted to do. So general dog's body, coaching sport, covering classes, running PE lessons, running around Hagley Park with the kids, and just generally enjoying life as much as possible. At the same time, travelling around the country. So when the school holidays were on, we were free to travel. So I fell in love with New Zealand way back then, and went back to the UK for university, and got a bachelor's in science in business and marketing. So I don't have a health background originally, and but New Zealand was sort of in the back of my mind. There was this little itch that needed to be scratched, and after about 3 or 4 years of work, I actually found a job in New Zealand, and was recruited and brought to New Zealand to do that job. So have been here ever since, 27 years. So yeah, it was a fairly straightforward upbringing. I was never the excellent sporty kid. I was always the just about got by kind of sporty kid, never excelled, but loved rowing, swimming, more of the water sports, let's say, than the traditional rugbies and the crickets, and water skiing and sailing. It was very much
the best place to come,
water
right?
centred. I'm in the right place now. I can deploy all these skills that I learned when I was a kid, because there's water all around us here. Yeah, you're right. So it was meant to be. And continued in the corporate space for a number of years after getting here. Worked for a couple of organisations after the one that recruited me, and then one day just realised that I didn't want to keep doing what I was doing for the rest of my life. It's sort of just one lunchtime, you're just flicking through the Herald, eating your lunch, minding your own business, and there was a course it was a PT college, so it was a course to educate personal trainers. I thought, well, that'll be interesting, because I generally kept going to the gym most of my adult life and stayed reasonably fit. And I thought, well, I'll learn a few things. I'll get some knowledge for myself, that I can just put into action and be better at what I do when I turn up to the gym, sort of thing. And halfway through that course, I realised it was something I just had to do for myself and shift. So I made the transition, and I got into PT and started working with clients. And so, that was. We're talking 2008 now, so 17 odd years, and that journey evolved. I got myself a mentor, and that sort of brought some direction to my business, because I kind of ran out of ideas, and I didn't really know what the next step was. Do I franchise my business? Do I take on other people and grow the team? What do I do? And so this mentor just took me on this education journey. So my business grew. But also, the suggestion, well, what else do you want to do? To actually sit down and think about what the next steps in life are. I'd never really taken the time. And so one of the things I wanted to do was to obviously continue the learning journey, and that pushed me into health coaching. And so I became a registered health coach, and all the knowledge that I picked up along the way just gave me a breadth of knowledge that went beyond PT. When you're a PT, there are two big levers. It's either exercise or nutrition. And get those right, and that should be the result for everybody, and that's not the truth. It's probably about 30% of the population. The other, the 70 can do all the things right and not get the result that they're looking for. And so that's kind of what made me curious about this health coaching piece. I was like, well, what else do I need to know? Well, I need to understand, all the different systems in the body, how they work, how they interrelate, so that I can understand what might be going on for people that aren't getting the results that they're looking for. And so, that journey I'm still on it. But, that then took me into that corporate space, because I wanted to deploy all this knowledge, but, one-on-one, chipping away with individual clients was good and satisfying, but at the same time, I wanted to have more impact. And so I knew that working with organisations, I can have more impact. And if I'm standing in front of 100 employees, I don't know how many people are necessarily going to change, as a result of one conversation, but at least I'm having a more of an impact because there are more people listening.
You're sowing a seed as well.
Say again?
You're sowing a seed.
Yeah, exactly. You're sowing a seed that, and different people will respond at different times, right? If they hear a message 2 or 3 times, they're like, oh, okay, there's something to this.
Yeah,
and you might be one of those.
Yeah, and what you just said about generalistic, routines and so on, I had that same conversation with Ross Baumel.
Right.
And he said the same thing, is that, when you expect to do all these general things and it doesn't work for your body because everyone's body's different.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's now telling me that, you don't just go to the gym and do the same as everyone else.
No.
And it's, you may not, also when it comes to diet, it might not be all about eating what they tell us, right? The media tell us, what scientists tell us.
Yeah.
But it's really understanding your body and what's right for your body. And it goes back to that eat right for your body kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And I think the lens that Ross uses, because me and Ross are colleagues,
Yeah.
and I know the tools that he uses in his business, and I don't use them to the same extent he does. He's specialised in that epigenetics space. And I still use it, but I use it as a lens over some of the other stuff that I do. And it's really powerful because, I can be having the conversation with people about, let's say, their nutrition, but I'll know that because of the body type that's in front of me, I know what that is. I know how to read people's body types and go, yes, you need to do this with your nutrition, but you need to time it in such a way that that's going to work for your body compared to mine, which is completely different. And our food would look completely different from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. Not just what's on the plate, but also the timing that we eat it and the mix of macronutrients, And everyone's still eating, but it's the way in which we eat and it's when we eat. Those are all really important nuances to getting the results. And that's missed in sort of mainstream media.
Yeah.
Very much so.
For a very long time, I used to eat like my father did. We both obviously loved Indian food.
Yeah.
And my mum was one of the best cooks. So like she used to get invited to cook at Indian weddings and so on.
Right.
And we'd overeat, of course.
It's a wedding.
And eat all the carby things,
Yeah.
But lately it's like with my partner, she's like, "Are you really hungry? Do you really need to have another?" And I'm like, "No, I don't."
It's good to have that someone popping that question, just planting again. It's the sort of, and it's listening to us. We've lost touch with our natural rhythms, I think, and one of those natural rhythms is listening to your body in terms of when you're hungry and when you're full.
Yeah.
There's one of these, and I've forgotten the name of it, but in the blue zones, which are those regions around the world where people live disproportionately longer than the rest of the population in the world, they stop at 80%.
Yeah.
So they know that, you don't keep shoveling it in at 80%. You stop, and because it takes 20 minutes for your brain to catch up with your stomach.
Yeah.
And that's that is just as important as listening to when you're hungry, not just looking at the clock and going, 1 o'clock, right, I need to go and fill my face. It is about listening to those rhythms, because I think when you tune into them, that's a really powerful tool that's built in. You don't need any tech. You don't need any wearables. It's there, but it's allowing people that space to say, yeah, you're right, I do need to do that a little bit more. Okay, so what does that look like? How can we work towards that? Because you're not going to shift from where you are now to there overnight. And then that's the coaching journey. And it's helping people go, okay, it's okay if I take a few weeks to get there.
Yeah.
And make them comfortable with that. Be kind to themselves and help them see the pathway, but don't rush it. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? So so we've been programmed that we've got to eat breakfast and lunch and got to snack multiple times during the day, and then you've got to have a big dinner as well, right? What I've been doing lately is I'll have my dinner, but I won't have anything until 11 o'clock the next morning.
Right.
And if I do, now I'm starting to eat more whole foods. So starting to eat more like muesli, but it's all whole stuff.
Yep.
Right, and with some yogurt.
Right.
and I'll have a couple of coffees in the morning.
Yep.
Decaf, because I can only have decaf because
Okay.
I've only got one kidney from birth.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But what are your thoughts on like intermittent fasting? And it does reset your body, right?
It does. It helps you improve your insulin sensitivity. And there's others, depending on how far into the fast you go, there are different benefits. You know, it helps you tidy up damaged cells, and it also helps kill off unneeded cells, not wanted cells. So there's a whole bunch of processes that can continue in the background if you allow them to happen. It's a tool. It's not for everybody.
No.
And I think it's about using the right tool at the right time. I was actually talking to a client this morning with one of my corporate clients that had a coaching session, and we're doing a second session. So we've done an initial session, 60 minutes. We've got a 30-minute follow-up. She was talking about her progress, and she wants to lose weight. She's had 3 kids, and she just wants to slim down. She's wanting to increase her energy, so all the classic traditional things, and she's used fasting as one of those tools. And now that's not something I suggested she do, something she's come up with herself, and I'm saying, that's cool. How are you feeling? You know, are you looking after your electrolyte levels? You know, making sure you're getting plenty of healthy, good quality salt or a version of electrolyte into your system if you're going into sort of day 2, day 3. I thought she was going to do work towards 16/8. And she's blown 16/8 straight away, and she's like, oh, I did 3 days. And then I did another 3 days a few weeks later. I was like, already? So, and I was like, how, is that okay? You know, I just wanted to make sure that she was okay. And she's a smart lady. She knows what she's doing, but she's discovered that that's the solution for her. And I was like, how's your energy levels day 1? Yeah, they drop a little bit. How's energy levels day 2? Not too bad, but I'm noticing I haven't eaten, you know. And then the day 3, how's that? She went, day 3 is amazing. She's like, oh, it's like the clouds parted, you know. So she had to go through that process of weaning herself off and going from glucose as the preferred source of energy into the alternative, which the full scientific name I forget, but it'll come back to me. And so, you know, essentially she's switching hybrid. Her body is a hybrid. She's switching from one fuel source to the other. And it's going to assist her on her journey because she will naturally be eating less calories. So if you are an all or nothing kind of person, and she seems to be like that, it's a really useful tool. Whereas if you're someone who can be very disciplined and go, I'm not going to have that extra thing, or I'm going to cut down my rice portion or whatever it is, then maybe fasting isn't the tool for you. So really useful tool. But it's horses for courses, you know. Different people, different
it's not
tools.
For everyone.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I struggle with it. I know it's beneficial, but I'm someone who is always on the go, never sits down, and I just need fuel. You know, I start early. I'm active, so it wouldn't work for me.
I've fasted over the years. I've always done that. You know, the one I just explained, where I said, you know, after a certain time, I won't eat until the next day.
Yeah.
And some days I've gone all day.
Right.
But and it works for me as long as I'm having enough water and salt, you know, Himalayan salt in there. And yeah. Now let's go to the topic of burnout.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure that there's the food and how you look after yourself and your sleep patterns and all that stuff. So, how did you go from burnout to becoming the energy coach?
The hard way.
Did you?
The hard way, because I pushed myself into a burnout, and I didn't realise I had until I actually got some numbers, some understanding of the science behind it. So yeah, I did it. How did I do it? I did it because I was naive. I was my own worst coach. I thought I knew it all, and I didn't. So I was naive. All those things that come with a hard lesson learned, and it was a combination of long days, working hard, training for various different events. You know, it was the year that I did the Auckland Marathon, and I'd swum from Takapuna across to Rangitoto, and there was a Tough Mudder in the middle there somewhere as well. You know, which is like 18, 21 k's off road, climbing obstacles. There's a lot. And it's all different type of, you know, the mud run and our marathon running have some similarities, but they all require different types of training, and I'm the sort of person that will be fanatical about my training, and I will make sure that I've crossed every T and dotted every I. And unfortunately, that's all. The other flip side of that coin is that, I don't give myself enough downtime. I don't give myself enough recovery time. Probably didn't eat well enough either, or enough. If you undereat and you're over-exercising, then you will start pushing some hormones out of place. And so that was the journey that I accidentally pushed myself on. And it got to the point where I had some testing done, which was at the point where I had this mentor that I still stay with today, but he and his business partner at that time were doing some of the some functional testing, which is really useful because it gives you an idea of what's going on inside your body, and then you can marry that up with how people are feeling, and that gives you a lot of tools to do some coaching with. And cortisol, as people will probably know, is one of our stress hormones. Really important, not something to be afraid of. It has a natural pattern. Gets us out of bed in the morning. If we don't have any stress in our lives, we'd never get out of bed.
But there's good stress and there's
absolutely
bad stress,
there's
right?
good and there's bad. That's right. That's absolutely right. And the good stress helps us achieve deadlines. It pushes us to achieve things, all those good things. But I'd maxed out on it. I'd used it all up. And so there's a process your body goes through. So when your cortisol is elevated above that pattern, it's like you can start to be a little more irritable. You can short-tempered. You may have some sleep disruption. There may be a few little signs that pop up that you may not pay attention to, but they're telling you it's your body we're trying to communicate to you. And I had those. After you keep it elevated for a long period of time, your brain goes, there's a feedback loop in your system, in your brain. Your brain says, we've got an elevated level of cortisol. We'll just down-regulate the production of that. So that's the adrenal glands that sit on top of the kidneys. They produce it. So then what happens is they down-regulate the production. And at some point, that high level starts to drop because it can't stay up there forever. But it drops and it keeps on dropping. And so then it drops below where it was when it was healthy. And that's the point at which then you really start to feel the fatigue and the tiredness because you don't have the natural level of cortisol to drive you, the good stress, to drive you day to day. And that's not fun. And it's not a nice place to be. And when I saw my results, it should go up in the morning and then slowly drift down at nighttime. It was flat.
Wow.
From morning to night. It marginally higher in the morning than at night. And I think the numbers were something like 20 or 25 units, I can't remember exactly, of cortisol per day. And I was making less than 10.
So that was a sign of burnout?
Yeah. And that's a nice confirmation that I've been up there and then I'm down there. So I've been through that cycle.
It's like when you go for a run and your recovery, right? It goes up, but then you have a good recovery.
Yeah, exactly. But what I wasn't doing was giving my body enough downtime, and I wasn't nourishing it well enough that when I wasn't running or working, that it was giving me the fuel that it needed. You see, we have all these stores. We have a certain level of B vitamins in our body and other nutrients, which when we push into fight or flight, when we're in that state of trying to get stuff done, we chew into some of those reserves and eventually they exhaust as well. And so you're not only refeeding to get your cortisol back, but you're also having to refeed all these nutrients that you've chewed through. You've used your reserves. It's like the savings account is now empty,
it's going to take
as well as the current account.
It's going to take longer to recoup as well, right?
Exactly. So it's a longer journey back. And that I was just naive to all of that stuff. Yeah. And so I've learned. So to fully answer your question, having gone through that journey, I realised all the stuff I did wrong. But I also understood some of the early signs reflecting on what I'd been through. And so now I'm equipped to help people who are in that state. I feel really blessed to have gone through that journey and be able to go, I know how you feel, and I really do know how you feel, but these are the steps. I can help you get back to where you need to be. So that's why I call myself the energy coach, because I know some of the tools that are going to help you restore some of that energy and get you back to a vibrant person. Yeah.
So what about like entrepreneurs and business owners? Like, they're not necessarily doing strenuous exercise, but they're staying up all hours of the night, working, burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
What happens there?
Well, it's the same thing, and it doesn't really matter how you do it, but I talked about fight or flight. We've got these two sides to our autonomic nervous system. So that's the part of our nervous system that just takes care of business, where we don't even think about it. So heartbeat, body temperature, digestion, all these things are happening without us having to even think about it. One side is fight or flight, or sympathetic, and the other side is parasympathetic. Now, we're not designed to be in sympathetic states for long periods of time. It's designed to get us, it was how we've survived as a species.
Yeah, we're going to run away from,
the saber-toothed tiger. Correct, that's right. Yeah. But modern day life has saber-toothed tigers on every corner.
Yeah, because we're all constantly on the go.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's your exec. That's your exec who has a lot of responsibility at work, still has the family side of things, the social, all the other parts that make up a human life. And at some point, if they keep pushing and pushing and pushing, then they will start to go down that path that I just described. And it's about taking back that time for yourself. It's about having me time, and that may be just snippets. But if you have enough snippets, then that should add up to a point where you're giving back enough to your body and your brain that you don't go down that slippery slope.
And you can use things like the Pomodoro technique, where you work for 25 minutes and you go and have a 5-minute break.
Yeah, love that.
Get off stay off your phone, but just go and be with nature or something.
Absolutely.
And then come back and then refocus.
And we have energy rhythms throughout the day. So everyone will have heard of the circadian rhythm, because that's a 24-hour clock. That's how our bodies know between night and day. But we also have these ultradian rhythms throughout the day. And roughly every 90 minutes, we need to take a small break.
Yeah.
So you could use Pomodoro to break 325s plus 5 into your 90. Yeah. So 3 Pomodoros, time for a bigger break. Yeah. And then you get that time for your brain and body to actually, you need to probably go for a 10-minute walk outside, use nature like you said, because we know that brings cortisol down. But if you don't do that, and you're pushing and pushing and pushing, at some point your body's going to...
Yeah, you've got to get the mindfulness in, whether it's walking in nature, whether it's a bit of meditation, deep breathing, getting the air back into your body, but also like really just being still and being one with yourself to get all this chatter.
Yeah. Quiet the mind
a bit.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. One thing I've been learning is that it's okay to slow down, to speed up, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree. It's a fallacy that we can just keep on pushing and still have productivity at a point that's useful. It's not true. There are European countries that have legislated this stuff, right? They know that there's some sense to this. Yeah. That working beyond a certain amount is a waste. Yeah. And really all it does is take a human toll. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember when I was in corporate, I started my own business this year, but when I was in corporate, working at Auckland Transport Council and Telco, all these companies, I was working my ass off, and I was working to all hours of the night because my manager wanted a report last minute or something. Yeah. And I was like, you go back to work the next day and you're exhausted and so on. And then, when I first started my business, of course, I was working 13-hour days. Yeah. But I very quickly learned that you've got to slow down. Yeah. And now, and this is a conversation I had with Ross, was that not everyone is the most productive in the morning.
True.
So for me, what I do now, for me, is that I spend more time with meditation and gratefulness and grounding myself and then putting my intentions out for the day. And then once I've done that, I feel recharged. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And then I can ease into the day. Right. And I might work a little bit later at night. Yep. But it means that I'm not just going full tack from morning to night. Yeah. And then I might take a break in the middle of the day. Yeah. And maybe go for a walk. And so on. So yeah,
smart. It's good, and that's sort of hinting at the whole larks and owls. The morning people and the afternoon, evening people, and there are some in the middle that can swing either way. But I think knowing just that simple thing is really empowering for people. And when I've mentioned it in presentations, some people are aware of it but haven't thought about what they are. But the Western world expects everybody to be a lark. Get to your desk at 8 o'clock in the morning, leave your desk at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or whatever it may be. But some people should be getting in at 10 and finishing at 7, or something like that, because they're the ones that do the heavy lifting in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And the larks can carry on and get on with their heavy lifting in the morning. And that in itself, just that simple change, or acknowledging that as an organisation, is as a lever to pull to improve productivity.
Yeah. Do you feel that organisations actually starting to listen to that, or are they still kind of like, you got to come here at like 8 o'clock in the morning and you got to work till, 5?
I think some are. I think the flexibility that was driven by COVID with people working from home, and now they're wanting everybody back in the office, and some are finding a happy medium, which I'm finding generally most organisations are like, oh, we have to be in the office this day, but the other days we're from home. Oh, okay, that sounds like a reasonable balance. But I think that's probably where most of them are at. I don't think they've quite got to that next level of going, okay, so tell me more about you as a person. What are your natural rhythms? When do you do your best work? Oh, between 2 and 4 p.m. or between 3 and 7 p.m. If people were to find that out and then to build that into the rhythm of the organisation, I really think, it's a simple opportunity missed for organisations. Because
I think, people also want to feel like they're enjoying their work as well, right? Like, and like, families, like, you got to get, like schools don't open to a certain time.
Yeah.
So, but you're expected to be at work by a certain time, and then you're stressed because, maybe both your parents are working, and, it just causes a whole lot of stress, right? But having that flexibility allows you to do your personal stuff, look after your family.
Yeah.
And I really think family should come first. Maybe they'll work a little bit later, or maybe they'll go in later to work and come home and then work later, and maybe break the day up. So I feel like there's got to be a bit of a, like you said, a happy medium.
Yeah, I think so. I think organisations need to be smart enough to know that if they expect people to be answering emails on their phones or whatever it is at 8 o'clock at night, then it should swing both ways, right? And one of the key motivators, or one of the things that can push people into that burnout, is that there's obviously things like mismatch of values, but there's also that control over your own work, having your own influence on how your day goes, the sorts of things that you do, having some control over it, so that you're not being micromanaged, essentially. And I think that plays nicely into the larks and the owls. If someone had the control, how would your best day go? Okay, right. Let's work out and see if this can actually work as an organisation. So there's some real merit to it, and we are at a very basic level, we're animals, right, living in a glass and a concrete world. And as
it's a simulation, right?
Yeah, and you've talked about getting out into nature. We're supposed to be in nature all the time.
All the time, yeah.
It's great to see some plants indoors, but it's not quite as good as being out in nature itself.
They're not Richie real though.
That's all right. I mean, I'm sure my brain's enjoying them anyway. But so there is some merit to it, and I think smart organisations will get onto that, will catch onto that, and realise there's some real power in that.
Now, Rich, you often say that energy is your greatest asset. What does it mean for people juggling a busy work schedule and a work and life schedule?
I've talked about managing energy as opposed to managing time, because there's lots of time management gurus, and respect to them all. It's a critical element. But I think if you manage your energy, the time thing becomes less important. Because some days you might need to go 15 hours. It might be that there's no balance on that day, but the next day you may be able to get some of that time back.
Well, you probably have more focus if you've got more energy, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So your productivity is going to be better. But the ability to do that, like a 15-hour day, 16-hour day, you're doing 2 work days in one day potentially. Now, obviously it's not sustainable, but having the energy to be able to do that is really, really useful. And I think when you look after yourself well enough that that's a possibility, then it doesn't feel like, no problem, another 5 hours, another 6 hours, sure, it needs to be done. And I suppose, having that energy to be able to do that without even blinking an eye is a real asset, as opposed to, no, I'm done, I've got to go home, sometimes that's useful. So it is the energy is the currency of health, I think, and it's a way of being able to measure success. And that's one of the things I do with clients. And we're looking at all these things that they're working on, but I say, well, where's your energy? Because you told me it was a 6 when we first met. Where is it now? Oh, it's 7 or an 8. Fantastic. And is that all the time? Yeah, I think so. Good. But you wanted a 9, right? Yeah, okay. So if we keep doing these things, do you think you'll get to a 9? Maybe. We might need a few more tweaks, but yeah, how good would that be? Oh, fantastic. What would that mean for you? You know, and the power that it brings is enormous, especially if you've been a 6.
And it shows that we actually know, we already know this stuff, right?
Yeah, of course.
But often it just takes someone else to affirm it and validate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's the accountability piece in the coaching, right? Knowing is not doing, right? Knowing is not doing. And we all know, right? We've got Google at our fingertips. We've got AI at our fingertips. If we need information, it's not difficult to come by, but that doesn't mean we're going to do the thing. And so the coaching piece is really, really powerful, really, really important.
Yeah.
And different people respond to accountability in different ways. But I think the example I used earlier, the lady who wanted to drop a bit of weight and she's doing some fasting, she lapped up the accountability. She booked in for the next session ahead of everybody else that I'd spoken to, and that's a number of people. I was like, this is great that well, I think I need the accountability. Well, she knows herself really well, and she's getting the results by doing it. And I'm not an ogre, I'm a very gentle kind of coach, but I do help make sure I pin people down on the things they say they're going to do, and I hold them accountable to it because that's where the results are.
Yeah. I had a similar conversation with David Neathie.
Oh, yeah. I know the name.
He's one of New Zealand's top peak performance coach, Coach Lydia Ko.
Yeah.
And Azra Asanda. But yeah, he was like, it's all about, whatever you would say you're going to do, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Integrity.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think so many business owners ignore their health until they fall apart? And what are some of the early warning signs that someone's actually, the energy slipping and slipping towards burnout?
Yeah. It's a hard one. I think the answer is time. I think the answer is time and energy. At the end of a hard day, are you going to want to go and lift some heavy weights or go for a run or go take the dog for a walk? Probably not. So
but it's about knowing how what your body's telling you.
Goes back to the larks and the owls.
Because your body keeps the score, right?
Yeah, it does. But if you're a lark, you probably need to get up earlier and do your thing then, done for the day. Yeah. But if you're an owl, you probably need to squeeze it in somewhere in the afternoon. And it might be during the day rather than at the end of the day, because you might be finishing at 8 o'clock and it may not be reasonable to be gymming or doing your thing at 8 o'clock at night. But I think it's time. I think that's the pressure. The fact that organisations expect a lot out of people, and it's almost frowned upon if people take time for themselves. And that's a cultural thing, right? Different organisations really encourage it because they know there's a benefit, right? They're going to come back from their run at lunchtime full of beans and ready to go again, rather than, what's he doing going out for a run? Who does he think he is? So there's that culture piece, but on top of that, then it's individual accountability, essentially, looking after yourself. And I think some of those early signs will be things like leaning on caffeine a little bit more than you used to. I'll just have that second cup. I'll just have that third cup. And and I know that for a fact because that's exactly part of the problem that I had was caffeine became the crutch. It was that boost of energy that you got, but you're borrowing energy from later in the day. And you'll probably have a crash where you feel like a nap.
You have nothing left.
No, that's right. So I think there's a time challenge, but I think maybe some corporate people haven't experienced the value of looking after themselves and the energy that it brings. The more active you are, the more energy you have, and that's counterintuitive. It's like, but surely burning all those calories is going to make me more tired. Well, no, because what you're doing is you're speeding your metabolism up. You're waking your cells up. You're giving them the fuel that they need because your body is having to force it into the cells to create the energy to give you the movement. And that's where the energy comes from. So not just that, but you're
recycling that energy, right?
Yeah.
So like by going and doing exercise and really doing all that stuff, you're actually recycling it. It's not just sitting there.
Yeah.
You're actually
You're
pumping it up and using it up.
the fuel, and
Yeah.
you know, when we're in those stressed states that we talked about before, fight or flight, you know, your body primes itself for movement. But we stay sitting in the office at our desks, checking our inboxes or doing whatever we're doing. So our bodies are primed for movement, and they don't get the movement. So yeah, there is latent fuel sitting there ready to go.
Yeah.
So getting out and burning it off is actually one of the best things you can do to de-stress.
Okay, so you talk about small tweaks making a big difference. Actually, before we go into that, like, so when you deliver your coaching or your message in these businesses, what are some of the most common questions, or how do you feel they receive it?
I think there's a very large amount of skepticism to begin with, because I find my first mission, my initial mission is all about engagement and not content. It's about trying to get ears, pricked up, ears perked up, whatever the expression is, so that I know that if I've got them in that first session, they'll probably come back, and then we'll be able to dig into some useful stuff, at which point then the coaching, which either can be done in a group setting or an individual setting or both, people are going to open up and share the things that they really need to share so that I can help them move forwards. So it's all about engagement. It's all about trying to help them see why I'm relevant. Like, I'm here to share. So what? So what? Why you? Why now? Who cares? Sort of thing. So I need to try and make what I say as compelling as possible at the beginning, so that people do trust me, realise there's some value in me being there, and that their engagement in that is what makes the difference. So all sorts of different things. There's not really one thing other than just a face full of skepticism. It's like, it's okay, guys, I'm here to help. But that's a journey. It's not going to happen in one session. It's not going to happen in 2 sessions. It's going to take time, and that's really what a good program looks like. It's probably a 12-month commitment that organisations need to be prepared to make, so that those changes, A, the changes occur, but B, there's time for that to flow down to the bottom line, so that there's some return on investment for that organisation, which can then be measured in reduced absenteeism, reduced presenteeism, increased productivity, reduced staff turnover, all those good things which cost money when you measure them, and it's significant, and stress is going up. Stress is increasing in workplaces, and that's having a knock-on effect to all of those things in a bad way.
When you're doing things that you enjoy and that are creative, that's when your life starts to flow, right? When you're not enjoying the things that you're doing, like the work, and you're having to do things that because someone's making you do it, then it doesn't flow. And so to create that flow of energy, you've also got to break that day up into something like exercise, getting out with nature, but also something creative where you're going into your right brain, right? Is it the right brain? Yeah.
Yep. Left is logic, is that right? Right is
right brain. That's right. And the creativity side of it, so that that can then start to because then you're not just focused on work.
Yep.
But you're actually doing something that you're passionate about. Something that's purposeful.
That's it's interesting.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a big fan, but I was listening to Taylor Swift on Graham Norton the other day, and she was talking about her concerts. She wanted to over-deliver. She was doing 3.5-hour concerts in high heels, physically and exhausting, right? And she was, a long tour. And one of the things that she did to prevent herself from burning out was she would start recording. She was in the process of recording the next album. So on tour, when there was a gap, she would fly to Switzerland to a studio, record, and then fly back and then carry on with the tour. And she said that creative outlet, because it's a new album, it's new work, that creative outlet was what saved her from burning out on tour. Yeah. I was like, that makes sense. It's just what you're saying about that right.
When you do things that excite you, then that's when you get flow. And, and it's all about, like, people talk about work-life balance, which I think it's a whole lot of crap. It's all about harmony, because there's no balance between work and life, right? But it's harmony.
Yeah.
When your life is harmonizing, that's when that's when the magic happens.
I like that, and that sort of taps into that philosophy of ikigai, which is, those intersecting circles where you're being paid to do the thing you love and your natural talents and all those things come together. It's like, that's it.
Yeah, so if you do, in a given day, if you do a bit of everything.
Yep. Happy days.
Happy days, right? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's go back to this question about small tweaks and making a difference. What are some simple daily habits that can shift someone's energy fast?
The first one is getting natural light, getting outside in the morning, that natural light into your eyes. That helps wash away the melatonin from the night before. It sets the clock for 16 hours later when your brain says it's bedtime because you've been up for 16 hours. So it's a nice bookend to the day. And that's a really good way of boosting your energy in the morning. And natural light, it doesn't have to be sunny, but you need to be outside. You can't do it through glass windows, can't be in a building or in a car, got to be in person outside because the lux is so much higher and the blue light that is being received by your brain is so much higher. And so that's a really important one. So it helps boost your energy, but it also helps you set up for a better night's sleep that night.
Yeah.
So that's a critical one.
And talking about bookends, so my daughter's got one, I think it's got giraffes on either side of the bookends.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have those bookends, then your books will fall over, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same with your body.
Good metaphor.
If you don't use the bookends in the beginning and the end of the day, then
stuff's going to fall over.
It's going to fall over.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you've had clients that get incredible results from small lifestyle changes, and it just shows you that's small micro habits, right?
Yeah, it
is. And it's atomic habits.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. You can see why he's sold 25 million copies, can't
Exactly,
you?
yeah. And so could you share one of those stories with us?
Yeah, so another lady who is working for the same organisation that the previous one I was talking about, just another catch-up with her, and recently diagnosed celiac, and as we know, the impact that can have on your energy levels is enormous. If you're eating the wrong things and you are celiac, your energy levels can go through the floor, and she was a classic example of that. And there were a couple of other things that were on her radar nutritionally that she needed help with, she tidied up her food. She didn't know what to eat. What she was doing was she was finding all of the gluten-free products in the supermarket, which is a whole category in itself and generally rubbish, right? And it's like eating cardboard. It's cardboard. We all know that, right?
I did do gluten-free for a little while, and I actually found the Woolworths brand was really tasty.
Okay.
Just the Woolworths brand.
Good to know. I'll make a note.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, okay.
It was like $8 a loaf, but
yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
So I steered her in the direction, and really, it's not about eating the gluten-free products. It's about eating whole, natural, unprocessed food, as we know. And so she was like, "Yeah, I know, but what?" So it was okay. Here's some ideas, and generally, I don't like doing food plans because if you give everybody the answers, there's no learning.
Well, if it comes from a packet, then it's not whole foods, right?
That's true, but no, just the ideas. Like I would give a breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, food, what to eat. And I try not to do that too often because I don't want to give everyone the solution without the journey they have to go on to learn.
Learn for
because
themselves.
What I want people to do is be able to walk through a supermarket, fill a trolley, go home, cook for a week, and everything's how it should be. And that's the learning process, as opposed to, here's the food you should eat. Well, what have I learned? Well, I'm following instructions.
Then you're just giving a prescription, right?
Exactly. And I don't, that's not my method of operating. Anyway, got her on the right track.
You're teaching them how to fish.
Yeah, exactly, rather than giving them the fish.
Yeah.
So got her on the right track, and they were enough pointers that I said, you can swap this for this, you can swap that for that, and then you'll do some of the learning. And the other thing was she wasn't drinking enough water. So she had abdominal cramps, she was dehydrated, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. And so we caught up last week, and abdominal cramps gone. And she's drinking, not only is she drinking water, what she's done, and I'm going to steal this from her because it's such a great idea. She got one of these teas that sort of, it's got some vitamins in it, and it's just a herbal tea. So she would steep it in hot water, probably a little more than that. and then she would top it up with cold water, and then that would be her drink for the day. So it's sort of fruity, it's got some vitamins.
You can get those infusions ones?
Yeah, exactly that. And so it made her water interesting, because I was saying to her, put something in it, make it more interesting than plain old water, because then you might be more likely to drink it. And she came up with this whole tea idea. I was like, this is brilliant, fantastic. And she was like, look at this, I'm drinking 2.5 litres a day. And she wasn't even drinking 2 litres, So it is small things.
Yeah.
I was like, well, how's the abdominal cramps? Gone. How's the energy levels? Up. Just it is small things, but sometimes people just need that little bit of help, a little bit of support, ideas, accountability, and see how you go. See you in 4 weeks. Let's review, and she was just beaming, and she was blown away by how the small things that she'd done had made a massive difference to how she felt, and just not having cramps. I mean, imagine walking around with cramps all day. So yeah, that's an example. It's really great to hear those stories.
So if someone's listening right now and they feel too busy to start, what is one tiny thing they could do today that actually makes a difference? You're never too busy, right?
No, you're not. And I think the way I approach it is, what can I find that you're already doing that we can change, so it doesn't take any more time. All you're doing is changing the way you do it, and that's the low-hanging fruit that I look for first. It's a case-by-case basis. It's very individual. It's not until you've had a few conversations that or you've done some history on people, and they've filled in a couple of forms that really help you dig into that stuff. So, the hydration is the big one, is a big one. It's not the only one, but it's a big one. So I suppose that might be a really useful place to start, because it's not that difficult to have 1 more glass of water or 2 more glasses of water. People probably are having some, but they're probably not having enough, is my experience.
And what about people who have smoothies and things like that? Often they'll put too much sugar in it, sugar stuff in it.
Spot on.
Yeah. What's the...
Yeah, the rule is 1 piece of fruit, no more than 1. Go hell for leather on the veggies, because spinach and all that other stuff will bulk it out. Yeah. But if you keep loading fruit into it, then you're really just having a sugar bomb.
Well, I use banana as the base with baby spinach.
Yep.
And then I put oats.
Nice.
And then I put LSA.
Yeah.
And chia seeds.
Yeah.
And half an avocado.
Oh, nice, creamy.
And a few blueberries.
Cool.
And then coconut water and milk.
Right. Yep. Nice. Good flavours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yummy. I mean, your banana is probably the anchor, right?
Yeah.
It's going to give you a good hit of potassium. It's going to give you good energy, amount of energy. Nature's Mars bar. It's in the packet. You just take it wherever you need to go. And the blueberries, I'm not really counting that as a second fruit, because berries are really, really good. Berries are probably one of the best fruits to be looking at, because high in antioxidants, relatively low in carbohydrates, and the benefit that you're getting. Blueberries are my favourite. They're just lollies for me. It's just, I couldn't get enough blueberries because of the benefit that they bring. So yes, that sounds like a really good recipe. Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm on the right track. Yeah. Okay, so what are some practical ways leaders can bring more energy and well-being into their teams? I
think a great way of doing it is building it into an agenda or into a routine or a rhythm of how the office operates or the organisation operates. If you do have regular meetings, then make it an agenda item. How's everyone going with whatever it is they may be doing? Find out a little bit about them. Individual conversations help collective conversations, because if someone's doing something and they felt uncomfortable to be doing it, like going out for the lunchtime run, but it's made normal, then someone else who's been watching all of that may suddenly feel comfortable to do something themselves.
What about changing it up a bit and going, we're going to go for a walk today, and if you work in the city, there's plenty of water around the place, so you could walk to a park. We're going to sit on the park, and we're going to sit in a circle or whatever, and we're going to have a meeting outdoors. You get the vitamin D.
Exactly.
You're getting fresh air.
Yeah.
And you're not stuck in a room breathing everyone's
CO2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I mean, walking meetings are a thing, aren't they? There are lots
Yeah.
of people that do walking meetings. It's a fantastic idea. I think sometimes walking meetings can be better than face-to-face meetings because it's like driving a car. You know, you can have uncomfortable conversations because you haven't got to look them in the eyeballs when it gets uncomfortable. You can keep talking. And actually, sometimes that can be more productive.
Yeah, and even if you go get a coffee, you could get a takeaway and just walk.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So all of that stuff's really, really good. But it's normalising it. It's making people feel comfortable to do those things, so that it's part of the way you do things around here. That it's that cultural piece, and it's got to come from the top. It's got to be led by the leadership, and it's got to be seen to be done by the leadership, as well as said by the leadership.
Is there any part of the world where they do change it up and do something like that? Have you seen anywhere in the world where they do something different?
I can't think of a specific location, no. I know there are American companies out there now which are paying their employees to sleep 7 hours or more.
Wow.
I read an article the other day, and so there's some sort of tracker that will record it, and they'll get to work and go, yep, 7 hours, yep, cool. That goes on your pay. It might only be $10 a week. Excuse me, but there's an incentive top up to get 7 hours. We know 7 to 9 is kind of the sweet spot. So if you've had less than 7, then there's an opportunity for a bit more sleep. So there's things like that happening, you know, and I think that's reasonably radical to be paying people to sleep, you know, a certain amount. Because they know the benefits.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So I'm sure there are versions of that doing all sorts of other things going on, which I think is a really good step in the right direction. Yeah.
So how does focusing on well-being actually improve business results and productivity?
I think it's a collective, an aggregation of all of the organisation's shifts. You know, lots of individual shifts bring about organisational change because it's the people. You know, that's what organisations are. And I suppose when individuals make changes, their health improves, and as their health improves, sickness drops, absenteeism drops, presenteeism drops. So people are turning up and actually wanting to be there. You know, which you talked about as well. I think collectively, when all of that happens, you can then interrogate payroll data and say, right, how many people left last year? How many people have left this year? How many sick days did we have last year? How many sick days have we had this year? And quite quickly you can then go, okay, has there been a return on investment? We've invested this and we've saved this. And there should be a business case from that says, yeah, this is worth investing in. On top of that, you've got the anecdotal evidence where, how are you feeling? What's your day like? If organisations can measure their productivity, they may not make widgets, so it may not be that straightforward. But if they can measure productivity, then that's another metric. And then, like I say, the anecdotal stuff is how are they feeling? What's the surveys telling us? Is energy, you know, are they enjoying the workplace? Are there things happening that are keeping their engagement? And you put that together with the hard data, and again, that reinforces the business case.
Yeah, PDPs have become so much about like just the tasks that you do, right? But it's got to involve your life and everything as well. How energetic are you feeling, and you know what's happening for you, in your life. And often, you know, like when people snap at work or whatever, there's always a reason, right? And so what's going on in your life? Yeah. So I think personally, I think there needs to be more conversations around, maybe at the beginning of the conversations, more like, hey, focus more on the person itself than the work. Yeah. Because the work is a byproduct of that person, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. With this current environment with AI, and what are your thoughts on going forward? Like, are we going to be working less and spending more time doing what we love? What's your thoughts on that?
It's a great question. I think based on history, I would say no, we're not going to be leveraging AI to buy ourselves more free time. We're going to be leveraging AI to increase productivity, profitability, and output at the expense of everything else, because that has been the pattern ever since the Industrial Revolution, right? When there's been large advancements, that's been the outcome. It hasn't been, how can we use this for the improvement or the betterment of our quality of life. And I think Perpetual Guardian, with their shift from a 5-day working week to a 4-day working week and a 3-day weekend, was a response to the environment we're now in. I think the 5-day working week was invented by the Industrial Revolution, right? It was about, making widgets on production lines for 5 days, 2 days off, go back to work, carry on again. And that isn't the world we live in anymore. AI is a perfect example of the fact that, we can create almost anything at the touch of a button, but that enables us to do so much more. And yet we still only have 168 hours in the, by the way we measure our lives, calendars, weeks, all that stuff. I think that we've got to be careful that when the things advance significantly like that, we need to review how we operate as a society. And Perpetual Guardian did a great job of going, hang on a minute, how can we regain some of the balance here? And so if you're prepared to do 40 hours in 4 days, which not everybody, most people were, and some people did it differently, like they changed their working hours and still did it over 5 days because of kindy and kids drop off. Like it needs to work for everybody all the time, and not every organisation and not every society is going to change all of those things straight away, but that's the sort of change that's needed when technology or big advancements shift us from A to B, quickly. And I think the smart organisations like Perpetual Guardian are going to be the ones that stick around for longer, are the employers of choice, are the places where people see the vision and realise that someone has thought about them as opposed to just thinking about profit, bottom line, and just outcomes.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of talk about, I was listening to a podcast on a Diary of a CEO where this guy was talking, I think he's an ex-Google guy, and he was talking about how we're going to get to a point where basically everything will be automated and we'll just have time to go and spend with people that we love and utopia, right?
He's got the rose-tinted glasses on, I think.
And he even said to Stephen Barnett, he said, well, podcasts your podcast will be an AI. And he turns around and says, okay, thanks for the interview.
See ya.
You can go now.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Last set of questions before we go to the quickfire questions. Burnout affects the mind as much as it does the body. How do you help people stay resilient and rebuild when they're running really low?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think taking some of the learnings from, or some of the research from Dr. Lucy Hone, who's one of New Zealand's experts in resilience, one of the questions that she asks is it helping me or is it harming me? Having that reflection. And so sometimes we can be deep in the thick of work and not have time to stop and think, is this helping me or is this harming me? But having an opportunity to do that at some point is a really useful way of kind of going, actually, I can keep this up for a little bit longer, but I can't keep it up forever.
But that comes down to awareness, self-awareness, right?
It
does. A lot of people don't have that awareness.
No. But I think, even with a reduced amount of self-awareness, you can still think about asking yourself a question like that.
Is this serving me or not?
Yeah. And then, of course, it's a bigger question of, well, how do I change that? What do I do differently? How do I reverse that so I don't end up back where I was a minute ago, digging myself a bigger hole?
It's like Einstein said, if you keep doing the same thing and you don't expect a different result because sign of insanity.
Yes, indeed.
So, if it's, like for me, I was in the corporate world for 25, 30 years, and I kept going through redundancy after redundancy after redundancy, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And then I came to the conclusion that it wasn't what was aligned with me,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't who I was being, so I was attracting the wrong things. I had to go through a whole journey of doing a whole lot of shadow work.
Right.
And really letting go of a whole lot of stuff. And then my life changed. But it wasn't that easy. But I remember early this year going on the Tony Robbins Summit. And he said one thing which completely changed my whole perception was your identity. You know, you got to shift your identity. And what I realized was I was still in that employee mindset. And as soon as I shifted that to a business owner and a founder and CEO, it completely changed everything.
Yeah.
And what I've been learning lately is that we don't attract things. We do attract things, but we don't, it's not about something external coming to us. It's who we are being then aligns to what's meant for you, right? So if you want to be healthy and you want to have lots of energy and don't want to burn out, then you've got to start being the person that doesn't burn out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So how does mindset, and so we talked about self-awareness, but how about mindset? How does it matter to keep your energy steady for a long term?
I think for me, the way I look at it is, it's what are my routines? What are my schedules? What are my disciplines? What have I set myself in terms of how I'm going to operate on a day-to-day basis? What are my non-negotiables? You know, is it the certain meals? Is it the exercise? Is it the I don't know, the social activities? What are the things that, regardless of what happens in the week, still are going to happen? And one of those for me is that supermarket shop. You know, if I don't have the food in the house, I can't eat the food, right? So that is a non-negotiable. It's going to happen. And I think that's the mindset. What are people's non-negotiables? Because once they set them, that helps them anchor the things that they need to be as a person to look after themselves, to be resilient, to show up with the energy every day, to be able to do the work, to turn up the best version of themselves each day. So I think that's how I look at it. And I mean, that's only my version. That's not something I want to impose on other people, but that's what works for me. It's having those non-negotiables. And it comes back to that why and that sort of sense of purpose as well. What's your why? What's somebody's why? Do they know what their why is? Why they do what they do? And I think that's a really nice way of hooking into some of those disciplines, those non-negotiables. It's link it to your why, link it to your sense of purpose, because then when the motivation slips, you know, the extrinsic motivation comes and goes. It's intrinsic motivation that's there always. And you can just tap into it when you need it.
That's good stuff. I mean, it's good food for thought. And for someone who's feeling really drained, how can they start to reset and find their spark again?
Yeah, so another great question. Again, it is individual. So at my lowest, I started doing yoga, and I'm not a yoga person. I'm out the door, flying at full speed. I picked up yoga, and I did twice a week. I was doing yoga lessons, yoga classes, and the ironic thing is, my mum was a yoga teacher, and I'd never done it, and she would have been proud of me. It's finding something, and it was that little bit of time for me. So, you know, I had a full-on calendar, but I would carve out this hour or 45 minutes for the yoga class in my day. In fact, I would have to rush from my own work to get to the class on time, and I was usually late because of the traffic. But that's what worked for me, and that's what solved a large portion of getting into that parasympathetic state. I was just down-regulating more often and giving back rather than taking out. And I think that's what people need to think about if they feel like they're on that slippery slope. Are you taking out or are you giving back more? What does the ledger look like?
Yeah.
Because probably you're taking out more than you're giving back.
Yeah, it's a currency, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. And just like time, once you spend it, you don't get it back.
Yeah.
Although with energy you can, but if you're mindful of it and aware of it,
Yeah.
and taking the right steps, otherwise you might end up
Yeah.
somewhere where you don't want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so Rich, if someone resonates with what you've been talking about today, and they would really like to get in touch with you, or a business corporate is out there who wants to have you as a speaker in their business and coach them, how can they get in touch with you?
I think the quickest way is LinkedIn. Quick and easy. Richard Ellis, LinkedIn. Business health. So I've got my page, and business health is the business page, and that's probably the easiest way to do a direct message and say hello, and let's organise a coffee and a chat and see what we can come up with.
Nice. We'll put those links in the show notes.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. It's the quick fire questions.
Okay, exciting.
So you've got 6 questions. You can answer them with a short sentence or a single word.
Right.
And the first question is, how do you define success, and has that definition evolved for you over time?
Yes, it has evolved. Crikey, how do you define success? I think being in charge of your own destiny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who's been your greatest inspiration and why?
I've got to say, probably I'd have to give Dave Leo his dues here. He's the mentor that I talked about earlier, who I'm still working with 10 years later. And a lot of the inspiration for what I've done over those years has come from the work that I've done with him. Yeah.
Okay. What's something that you believe that others may disagree with?
Alcohol is not the be-all and end-all.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Start today.
What is one message that you'd like to share with the world?
I think it's really important to be the authentic you. Like, it's really, masks seem to be a thing that, I don't know, is it a cultural thing? Is it a Western thing? I don't know. Be authentically you. I think when you find the comfort in being authentically you, the stuff that you talked about before comes to you.
What does it mean to you to be a champion and have a champion mindset?
I think being able to roll with not only changes but adversity, I think is probably one of the biggest things from a champion mindset point of view. I mean, the classic example is the C word, which has come up, and I don't like keeping referring to that, but it's been a challenge, particularly for my industry, and I think being able to adapt as human beings is what's kept us alive on this planet. And I think whether it's big or whether it's small, rolling and adapting, I think is critical. That's that mindset.
Yeah. And you've got to keep integrating things into you. Yeah, exactly. Awesome, Rich. It's been a pleasure having you on the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. And thank you for sharing your story, your insights and tips that you have. If you're listening and you want to learn more, connect with Rich. I'll put the links in the show notes. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone that can really benefit from this. It could be a real gift by someone listening to this, connecting with Rich and changing their lives. Until next time, remember that champions aren't born, they are built. Keep showing up, keep learning, and keep your mindset strong. Lastly, I just want to say, you are loved, you are worthy, champion your life, champion your greatness, and have an amazing day.
Thank you.
Thank you.